Okay, great. So we're recording. So thank you everyone for joining today's session, a Power Platform Prayer in Time, COVID Solution by Imtaz Hussain. Please, whilst you're here, keep yourself muted. Questions will be answered throughout. So if you've got questions, please put them in the chat and Imtaz will answer as he goes through. Um, the session, as I mentioned, will be recorded and will be available on the YouTube channel at the end. Okay. So Imtaz, over to you.
Hi everyone. My name is Imtiaz. Thank you so much for to actually D365 UG for allowing me to do a presentation. It's always nervous being presenting to so many people that you don't know. I recognize a few faces. Iqbal, hi, how are you? So anyway, what I'm going to do is today I'm going to go through a solution that I put together to address a need in the community. So let me just go through this presentation and follow the slides. Okay, so my name is Imtiaz. I've been working with CRM since version 4. I've done 11, 13, all the way to 365, and you know, Power Platform is so powerful that some of the functionality that we used to take weeks or months developing, now you can develop in days, and this is what I'm going to show you today, why I chose how requirements and what I decided on to produce the final solution. So again, the agenda is we're going to look at why did I develop this solution. The requirements, what were my minimum requirements to allow me to host and run these events? What decisions did I make to use this rather than there were other means as well. I'll quickly show you the solutions. So I'll show you the model-driven application. I'll also show you the parts of the Power App and then Power Automate. And then I'll run through the application. So if you have any questions, either ask them in the chat or you can leave them till the end and we can go through these at the end of the session. Okay. All right. Okay, let's go through this. The first one. Okay, so for case for developing the solution. So the biggest thing that's happened to everyone this year is COVID. It's affected every business. It's homes, education, hospitals, you name it. Every single person or organization has been affected by this. It's affected people going into work, people being furloughed, and so it's affected everybody in a way. But one of the other things it's done is it's affected people's religious activities, and this is what made me develop this solution for our community, sort of. So where we used to do, like I'm a Muslim, so where we had Ramadan came, we used to be, our families used to get together, and we used to meet and we do prayers together, and so all that went. We had to stay at home and do everything at home, and it was difficult. You sort of missed it, the family interactions. And the same is similar to the CRM meetings, when we have them in person, it's so much more fun. But we would miss so much. So again, closures of Sunday schools, cancellation of pilgrimage, Ramadan for Muslims, and congregational prayers. So what happened was then the government made an announcement on July 15th that places of worship could reopen for congregational prayers, providing that we put the measures in place to allow people to have the social distancing. To make sure, so there was a 2-meter gap, and how I guess the question was, how do I manage this safely? Because obviously it's a big responsibility to take on if you're going to start to run events where multiple households are mixing together to come. So it's a risky thing to do. So I wanted to develop a system that would allow me to manage people's to register for the events, and then also control who sat where, and who were they sitting next to. So in case if somebody came back and said, look, I'm COVID positive, I knew I can easily tell who was sitting at what position, and to let them know, excuse me, you need to go to isolation because this person was the closest to you, or you were in this bubble. So if we look at the requirements, one of the first question was, I suppose, is this going to be a one-time event, or am I going to do multiple events? If it was a one-time, I could just do a piece of paper and just send a message out on WhatsApp, and then write them down and say, okay, you're here, 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 and that's finished. But I knew what would happen is, because people had got so not fed up, I suppose, or if they liked it and if they felt that it was safe, they would ask me to do it again. So because of that, I knew it was going to happen more than once. So I needed to develop the system that would allow me to manage these events on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. So looking at this, I thought, okay, so what is the minimum requirement? What are my minimum requirements? What do I need to happen? So the first thing is, I need to be able to capture this information somewhere. I need a means for people to be able to register. And the other thing is, when they register, I didn't want them to put the same information in over and over again. So once I've captured the information, I want to make it easier for them to put in a registration code that allows them to then, so they put in, the system identifies, yes, this is Joe Bloggs, he's been here before, and okay, so I've got his information. So when we know, when they put it in, we know who they are actually, so identify the email address and mobile number. The next thing was to, once they've registered, to send them some sort of notification or confirmation to say, yes, thank you, you've registered. Also then, I wanted to be able to, either the system to automatically register them a seat, or for me to be able to do it in a manual way. Now, when I say manual, you see, what happens is, a lot of people, when they come for prayers or any events, they'll come as part of a group or a family, So what we want to do is try and seat those people who are part of the same bubble in basically next to each other. So we know they are a family. So if there is slight reduction in gap, then it won't affect anything, because they're all the same household. So I want to be able to do it automatically, but also manually if I need to. And then finally, I need a means to be able to check these people in. So when they come in, obviously with the COVID rules, we've got a lot of things I had to ensure. Number one, that they had a face mask, and two, they had a mat, or three, we check the temperature. So there's a lot of things, and I wanted to be able to do that in a systematic way. So I knew that every single time it was the same procedure. So whether I was doing it or one of the other volunteers was doing it, then the system or the procedure is the same. But I want it to be easily manageable. So these were, I feel. Oh, by the way, everyone can see the screen with the requirements. Okay, apologies, I should have asked this first. So these were my minimum requirements. The next question, I guess, was, how do I do this? What methods can I use to develop this solution? So for the model, I could have used a SQL database, or MySQL, Azure, or on-prem. Azure, it'll have to be. And then for registration, I could easily use a web application or a mobile application. And for confirmations, I want to possibly send back an email or an SMS. Allocation, I want to be able to check to see whether the seats are available. If they are available and I am doing it automatically, then basically it assigns it and then sends a confirmation back to the user to say, look, this is done. And then finally, we want to be able to check the person in some way. Now, because I'm going to be on the outside of the house or environment, chances there's going to be no internet access as a Wi-Fi. So a means of using on a mobile device would be ideal, So these were my options. And if I wanted to, so on the check-in, I could have developed an Android application or a Xamarin Forms app that would allow me to do, in fact, all of this, and open it up. But the problem was I only had 5 days. So when we found out that the government allowing us to do this, I didn't have much time. So I needed to be able to do this really fast, and I don't think traditional development would have cut it, to do all this manually. Just would have taken too long, way too long. So again, the factors that were key in allowing me to decide which platform to use was, For all of these, there were multiple technologies involved. And for each one, you know, I had to go and do work at each stage. And secondly, did I have the skill set available? So I've done work with examiner forms, but am I great at it? I'm okay, I'm all right, I can do. But and so to be able to learn and try and produce something in 5 days, I think that alone would have taken 5 days, you know. Then the integration between the applications, the development time again would have taken weeks, maybe at least a month, I would say, to do the whole thing end to end. And then submission to Play Store. Sometimes, you know, when you submit to the Play Store, it takes a couple of weeks or a couple of days to a week, maybe 2 weeks, for them to approve. You know, they send back questions and you have to provide answers before they'll allow you to publish to the stores, whether it's the iOS store or the Google Play Store. So this wasn't, you know, the traditional again development was not an option. And then approval, which I covered. So. And the problem is I had 5 days. So the best way, I mean, because I've worked with CRM and the Power Platform, and those that have used elements of the Power Platform know how good it is. You know, the connectors that are available, it just makes it so much easier to produce things. So delivering the solution, I decided to use the following for each one of these stages. So for the model, I did Model 365 or CDS, created the entities in CDS to allow me to record the information. So, you know, attendee information, events, and the registrations. For the registration process, I thought, okay, the best way would be for me to use Microsoft Forms or customer voice. Because you just send a link, whether they have 365 or Office 365 account or not, it doesn't matter. They can still use the form, use the functionality, and submit. You know. For notifications, I've used Twilio. For those people that don't have email addresses, sent a message out using Twilio and an email as well. But I found out using Twilio that it cost me a lot. Through trial and error. I hadn't used Twilio before, but I find that when you send messages other than English, and I'll show you in a minute what I'm going to say. I'll put Arabic script in there. The value of your message increases, so it goes from like 4 pence to 26 pence. So it's quite a lot. And if I was sending 100 messages out, that's quite a bit. Allocation, I use Power Automate. I did no plugins or any coding in this. I want the reason for the solution, I suppose, was to prove that you could actually develop a solution end to end without doing any coding. And then finally, created a Power App that allows me to basically check people in. You know, okay. So, and again, the advantages for using this system is because there's so many connectors. It just makes it so easy to be able to integrate with just about everything, you know. And that is if anybody that's worked with CRM 11 up to 16 will know that if you wanted to do this prior to the Power Platform, it was just so difficult. You know, it would have taken a lot of time and effort and development resource, you know. So okay, so the model driven now. So what I'll do now is I'll go through and I'll show you each part of the solution, what I built, and then we'll go through and do a demo of the whole solution. Does anybody have any questions at this stage? Sorry, what was the check-in part of the solution? Check-in part of the solution is where I've used the Power App. Do you mean what I'm using, or what the check-in process is? Do you want to switch on your mic?
Hello. Yeah, just like where you said, so for example, model was Dynamics, register was using Forms, confirm was using Twilio, the allocate element was Power Automate. I just didn't note down what was the last bit for you on your slide.
It is using Power App, using a Power App.
Perfect, thank you.
I will make these slides available if you want to use them. Certainly, I'll do that. Right. So if I go through the first element, so if for the solution, do you want me to actually go into the solution, or just demo the various parts of the solution? What would people like? Anybody have any preferences? Or shall I just
see the whole thing, see what users used?
Okay. Okay. So let me go into here. So this is the actual model-driven application that I created. So it's got events, event venues, attendees, and homes and stuff. So if I go into the events, there's two ways of creating the events. Number one, you can just go in and just put in information. So I'll say D365 UG1, and the event date will say select date, we'll select time, maybe 8 o'clock, and then the venues. And this is quite easy to do. I mean, putting together a little model of in CDS is quite straightforward. If anybody's not used the CDS, actually, we're thinking we might actually do an all day on how to build this solution end to end. You know, so people can join in. We can actually do like a whole day workshop where we build this solution. And people can start to do, this for themselves, and they'll see just how easy it is. The forms element, I didn't actually use that in the end. So here, the auto sign, I'm not using. So if I just save this, actually, before I do that, so this is your basic information for the event. So what it is, when it's happening, and the venue. Events, I'll come back to. This is when once I set the record, it records the registrations, and then for each one I will confirm. I'll show this in a minute. The message settings is there. Basically, what it does is I didn't want to change. I wanted this to be able to. I wanted to use this application not just for prayers. So I want to be able to use it for other events as well. So what I did was I made the message settings field. So we've got email settings and SMS settings. So anything that we put in here will be used. So email, the greeting, the salutation, registration message, reserve message, cancellation, and so forth. So basically, this is the information that will go out to the users as part of the notification. Actually, if I show you one that we've already done, you'll get an understanding. So if I go to that one and go to message settings. Oh no, should we do this one? Okay, so in here you can see I've got Arabic script here, email greeting. I did have this same thing in the SMS, but I took it out once I realized the cost of the messages goes up. And then you've got your whatever content you need in there. I'll put the link in for the COVID. So the government guidelines, and then the reserved. So when we reserve them, it basically gets this message sent out, the cancellation and final message. And then if we've got parking and stuff like that. So basically this is, and people can tweak this to their own needs, to be honest. So one for email, one for messages. And what happens is, and also I wanted to, when I first did this, these options weren't there, but because the cost of the message was going on, so it was sending this as an email and an SMS. I found that I was paying a lot of money, like 40, 50 pounds were gone just like that for each event. So to reduce that, I only enabled email because I find a lot of people have the email addresses. So the admin side, I'll cover this in a minute. So basically, this is the information. Now, I showed you that you can create an event by going to new and so new, and then. But what happens is you're going to go and fill all this information in every single time. But if it's the same kind of events that you're doing, I added a feature called clone. So what it does, if I go to clone and I'll say name event, we'll say D365 UG test 2. Date we'll say is the 16th. Leave that as it is. The venue will say that. And then you can set the number of seats that you want for, we'll say 29. And then you switch clone and you save and close. So what that does, it makes it slightly easier for the end users. So I don't have to keep typing in the same stuff every single time. If it was a different event, what happens here? Okay, so it's created it. test 2. So you can see it's created the event and it's copied basically the information across. So that means I can now start to use the application. Now, so this is fairly straightforward. Events, just of course the event information, event venues, it's got name, address, sorry, forward, and then the attendees. For each attendee, if I'm doing this too fast, please let me know, okay? Organization and the registration. Now this is auto-generated for the users, and I'll show you this as a registered person. First name, last name, email address. Initially, when I first started, it was just a few fields, but then I've added more and more as I find that the need is like people want me to send information to them, so I need to capture additional information for me to be able to do that. Events, number of events they've registered. Also, if we have a lot of elderly people in the community, so when they come, you know, because we pray on a mat on the floor, so some people can't do that, so we have to provide a chair. So I wanted to be able to know who needs a chair. Under 16s, isolation, if they say, and this is on the form, if they or any member of their families had isolation, COVID symptoms in the last 14 days, it detects and then updates their settings in the attendee. So what happens is if this week they said, yes, I have, me or my family's had it, next week when they try and register, they won't be able to, because they'll say, you're still in that time, you need to isolate. And then you will capture the information just to, are you happy for us to store your information? And then again, you can see the events that they've covered, attended or not. So what I'll do now is I'll just show you the form. So if I go to the form, straightforward form. And one of the good things I found is that I can have, once I've created an event, so go back to events. So each event has got a code. And what I do is I use this code to identify which event they're registering for. So we can use the same form in here. So as you can see, I can add another option in there and then put the new event. It's a manual process. I wish there was a way I could automatically create elements within forms. Maybe down the road that Microsoft might do that. That'd be really nice. Because then I don't have, this is the only manual part of the process. Everything else is sort of automated. So, and then you've got an option set here. Do you have registry? Yes, no. And then I use the conditions to show the additional. So if they say, yes, we have registration, it shows this. Otherwise, for no, I'm not sure, they enter this information. So if I actually show you that working. So let's say we want to do that event. Yeah. And I'll say, do you have a registration ID? If I say yes, it asks for this. So, and that information I have against the attendee. So every person that registers for the event, gets an ID generated. So what we'll do is actually, let's go in here and say, no, I don't have one. We'll say, Joe. How many times have people used the Joe blog? Say, so NTSH at live. One mistake actually I made was the field here, I kept it as a number field. It probably should have been a text field. Because what it does is when it stores it, strips the 0 out at the beginning, but it still works. I've not really gone back and changed it. So the question is, have you or any of your family members had COVID? So what we'll do is we'll set that to yes. Do you require a chair? I'll say that yes, and then I consent. So what should happen is when I save this, it should create a new attendee for Joe Blocks II, give him a unique ID, and then so let's do submit. So if we go back in here, so now here what I've done is actually while we go into a solution, I'll just show you what I've done while it runs. Now, one of the things with the flow is automated. It's not real time. You know, it just takes a slight delay before it fires. So while it happens, so prayer in time solution, you can see I've created a whole load flows. So here, this one event forms response received. This will fire, and the solution. Okay, as you can see, it's just around 36 seconds ago. But if I quickly just show you how it's fairly straightforward. I use the trigger from the form, so you can then select the form that you want to use. So you could have the same. The notification actually goes once the record has been created. So you could have multiple events creating the records, and then the message sent out is unique to each event, which means you can manage multiple events at the same time. Fairly straightforward. But again, like I said, we can. If anybody needs more information, I'm happy to share this solution with them. If you want to use it. So going back into in here, if I do a refresh. So you can see Joe Bloggs II is got this ID. Now, one of the things I said was I'm in isolation, so I say yes. So you recorded the date that the person went into isolation. So if I did that, if I did one tomorrow or 2 weeks from now, as long as it's not within 14 days, he can't. If it is within 14 days, they can't create another event. He can't register. So I put a bit of intelligence in there to detect that information, so I don't have to keep doing it every time. And so if I copy this, let's go to the events. And you can see for this one, D365 UG. Now, so this is the event. If I go into events, so when people read, did I? Sorry, just 1 second. Oh, okay, sorry, I did it for this event. So you can see, so now what happens is when people register for the events, it appears in here. So what we need to do is, because I had to select auto allocate, when I create an event and I set 35 seats, it creates those 35 seats. So I can then go in and reserve some of these, and what will happen is it will then find the next available slot when I go to reserve. So if I open this now, actually, you know what, I'll show you the check-in process from the application, from the Power App. Let me just share the screen. Okay, I'm going to share the actual app so you can see it. Oops. Just bear with me, sorry. Oh, it's not coming. I normally use a teacher selector. Teacher, let's try again. Come on, okay. Okay, so now I'm going to show you. So when we and most of the time when I manage the events, the checking in of the process, I do it this way. So I'm just going to show you. So this is the app that we have. Oops. So if we go into, everybody can see that, yeah. Okay. So okay. So I've got a development version and I've got production version. So I'm going to select the second one. So when I go in, new version, okay, thank you. So refreshes. Okay, so you can see Joe Bloggs is there. So this is my app. So I've got attendees. If I go into attendees, you can see the information for each person. And I can use the native application, but so if someone needed to confirm, someone hadn't said, but we have people that register and then don't turn up. So sometimes I want to ring them to say, are you definitely coming? You know, because if not, I can allocate their space to somebody else. So I can actually just go into Joe Bloggs and say call, and you can see it comes up with that. So then I can actually make a call, and the same thing with the messages. If I go to the edit, you can go in and add additional information for them. And again, same thing. If I want to send a message out to them, I can just say hi, and I should receive a message in a minute. Here we go. It's just going through. Okay, and then email as well. So I'm going to go back. If I go into, you can see I've got all the information. So that's the attendees. If I go into events, you can see the current events, and you can also see the past events. So I can see at any stage who came, who did not come. So as you can see, I'm not sure what that was. So if I go to the second one, you can see that test number 1 is marked as attended. So if I then go back, and on the home page, you've got here this person here. You can check people in from here. I reserve a space here from here, or I can do it from the event. So in here, if I went to the right event, this way I can see, when I check people in, I know I'm doing it for. So I need to click on this button here. So when I go in, I can see, the person. So when I click on them, I can then go and change that to reserve and say OK. And then what will happen is just give it time. Sorry. This is, yeah. So you can see that he's now marked as reserved. On the day of the event, when we check people in, again, we will open the same application. So when I go into, as you can see, number 1's already been checked in. So when I go into the second one, on the day, I will say, OK, so what do I need to, what's his temperature? I will call the temperature, 7.2, sorry, 0.2. I haven't actually added any validations because, like I said, as in, if the person has gone, if it's very high, and so maybe that's an improvement I can make. So here, does he have a face mask? Yes, it does. Prayer mat? Yes, it does. Tube lag, and then checked in. So when they check in and do OK, it will then mark them as attended. If that person decides that, I can't make it, I can, if I click on that, no, sorry, not in here. I have to do that from, is it there? Yeah, sorry, I did that bit fast. So basically, I clicked on here to the edit, and then what I do is I go in and I can release that space and do OK. And what will happen is they'll go back into being into the pending stage. So if I go back into, I'm sorry, I go into this other way. Just give me a second.
Whilst you do that, Imtiaz, there's a question with regards to the mobile app that this is you checking them in, and it's not something that people have to download and therefore will need a license for.
Yeah. So the app is basically for internal users. So all the volunteers that are part of the team that manage the event, they will have access. So yeah, I guess that's the only downside to the Power Platform is that I suppose not downside. It's not, when we say it's an app, you need to run it within the Power Apps application for it to work. So that means you need an Office 365 license. So yeah, and that was, I suppose, one of my requirements. Do I want people outside of the organization to be able to use this app to check people in? At that point, I didn't. If I needed people to do that, then what I would do is I would actually go and create a Xamarin Forms app. I think that would be, because then, in fact, I could do the whole functionality on this. If I had the time, I would do that. I would create an app that allows people to register for the events through, and that way you don't need a license. People are just, it's an app that's open to Joe public, and they can register, and then you can have an element within the application that only allows authorized personnel to go in and manage the check-in process. But I think you can see that in 5 days. I think is great, and as you can see, I've managed hundreds of, well, not hundreds, actually, quite a lot. The first 2 sessions, we had like 70 people in each session, and that's a lot. So 70, and to be able to, and it literally took seconds, when I checked somebody in, if I go back into, into there, when I check them in, it's a few questions really, isn't it? To be able to reserve. So reserve is quite easy, and when I check them in, so if I say reserve again, oh, that's my kitten. My kitten I came in and it switched on the flight mode, and I didn't know what was wrong. Hello, hi Gigi. Sorry. Going back to my, so just wait for that to kick in. So when you do check people, it's literally takes so if I had 70 people, it wasn't going to take me a long time. If it was a manual process, I would have spent quite a long time trying to get this to work. Really, that's all there is to the solution. Does anybody have any questions, or do they want to go through anything again, or?
Yeah, me again. So just from a outsider's experience, so all they have to do is they just have that form that they fill in.
Oh, okay. Yeah. One thing I forgot to show you is the messages that go out actually. So when I let me just find that. Just give me 1 second. Find it. Yeah. So people. Just give me 1 second. I'm trying to find my emails. Okay, so you can see. Oh, I'm going to share my screen. Move this out of the way. Okay, so basically, when people do get their confirmations, the first message when they first get, as you can see, this was the first message that sent out because they'd marked the fact that they were they or one of their family members had COVID symptoms. Then they received a say, so I'm sorry, so please isolate, blah blah blah. So forth. You can read the message. But if we do a registration where they do have registered, then they receive that other message. So this information is picked up from that message settings. So you can see the Arabic and then test user, and then we'll put the venue details in. I can quickly show the two flows if you want to. Would people like to see that? Should I show you? Sorry about this. Not part of the demo. Hello, you still there? I can't hear you. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, for me, I'm more interested in seeing what the experience is for the people signing up for this. So how do they know about this? Was it like an email communication that goes out? Yeah, what does it look like for them?
So they fill in the form, whether that's on this or the mobile app, sorry, on the phone. So normally the first message that I send out to them is normally via WhatsApp. Maybe I should as soon as I create an event, I should automatically send a message to them to say the registration is open. I haven't done that, to be honest. I've not really had time. Yeah, they get the email message, then they'll get the notification to say once they've registered for the event, they'll get this. But if they are if they have to isolate, then they'll get this. And that's really it. I don't send any more notifications after. It's only so the forms I send out initially on like the broadcast list to say look, the event is open. Then yeah, one of the things I have added in there actually, let me just show you, is comms. I don't think I've actually finished that. Yeah, so you can see I send messages out to people to say, or it records that and the message that I sent out.
So this is a record of each message that was sent out by individual, yeah? Yeah.
So I try and, obviously I don't want to be storing hundreds of messages. So what I do is after 30 days, I've got this is a workflow that runs and clears out any records that done. I don't need to hold really. So anything 30 days, I just do a bit of housekeeping. But it's a fairly straightforward. Like I said, I was able to do this within 5 days. And to allow me to manage my events. And I've been doing that since 31st of August. So sometimes we started initially, the first 2 were 70 people because we did it outside in the field. So I worked with the council. Initially, and this was quite good actually, the council, when we first asked them, they said, no, I'm sorry, you can't have the events. Then I sent them the whole, once I developed the solution, I sent them a link to say, look, let me show you what I've done. And I showed them and they said, yeah, you can have 70 people. And then once I obviously more than 70 registers. So I went back and I said, look, any chance I could do a second session of 70? I said, yeah, okay. Because I measured, initially what I was going to do was actually do use some sort of a PCF control. So when I said 35, it did the calculations and created a chart of like the mats, the positions of the mats. But I think, you know, it worked. I didn't need to do that in the end. So one of the good things is, in the time that we're doing it, we've not had one case, because we ensure the distance between each person is 2 meters front and sides. So you know, it's been working fine. And if at any stage somebody does say I'm like, so they came this week, the next week we can then find out who was sitting next to them, because we know the seat numbers. And then once we just let them know that, you know, you need to isolate or go get checked out. So, but I think it was nice to be able to show to people, you know, if you have a need, and you don't really need to be a developer to do this, you can actually literally knock up. There's a slight learning curve, you know, so you have to go and work out how to do the Power Apps, but it's not that difficult. It really isn't difficult. Power Automate is very, very simple. You know, it's just exactly, if anybody has used the custom workflows in CRM 11 to 15, 16, it's exactly like that, but it's a much nicer user interface, you know, the drag and drop functionality, and the number of connectors that you can have. And going forward, you know, a lot of the projects that I do now, where possible, if I need to, because you're going to go in and do the work for the teams, but then you're going to walk away. And you want the teams to be able to do, if it's slight admin stuff, or they need to change the rules or logic slightly, then they can do that themselves. Are Power Automate always the right option? No, not if you need real-time things to happen, you know, in real time. You know, then you need to do it. Use like plugins or webhooks or custom workflows. They're still there. The real time. I don't know. I did hear a rumor that at some stage they're probably going to get rid of them. But I suppose so. Always reading, checking to see what is coming up is a good thing, because, you know, if you're developing projects, you're making sure that you are future-proofing the solutions that you deliver to your clients. So, any questions? Anything? Any improvements?
Me. So regarding the obviously the data that you're storing in the Dynamics, there is that because you've got like the events and the registrations and the attendees, is that all of the out of the box stuff with the marketing bit, or did you create them because those were just the entities you wanted?
Yeah, I didn't use out of the box. No, I didn't. I created my own because I wanted it to be. Sometimes, you know, I think it's the decision is, do you go with out of the box? Like account contact, obviously you go with out of the box, but anything additional, if it's too much overhead and you don't need all the additional information, then sometimes it makes sense just to keep it, because remember, you are paying for you know, the storage. When
yeah, and with marketing, it's additional licensing as well.
Yeah, so it was a question mark. Do I go with out of the box? So in the end, for that reason, because, you know, we'll keep managing these events, and I want to store as little information as I need. So I kept the entities structure small for only the information that I need. And if I need to add any more, then I can do that at any stage. I suppose. Just build your stuff in the accommodated model, or Dataverse as it's called. And sounds like a movie, doesn't it? Dataverse. It really does. I was quite surprised by the name. But yeah, I think, yeah, that's the decision. You know, when you look at the entities, do you want to use, where possible, I will try and keep the product, if you're developing a solution for a client, as, you know, and is keeping the solution as close to the vanilla product as I can. So if they do any upgrades, then those upgrades are basically, you know, they're future proof, you know, so you're not having to, because I've worked on many projects where they've done, you know, they've customized this through CRM so heavily that it can't be upgraded. And that causes a problem for your clients, you know. So I think, you have to really look at what it is that you're doing, and not just now, maybe look down the road as well to see what it is that your requirements are, and is it possibly likely to change? And and again, if Microsoft bring out some additional functionality, will you be able to use that if you've moved away from the vanilla product in a big way, So, but as far as the Power Platform is concerned, I think it's fantastic for creating fast applications. Now, I work as a contractor, so I have my own, I manage my projects through 365. I've created a solution where when I do my requirements for my sort of the main features and the tasks of it, because I find it very difficult to price up projects. So this way I can build in the features of what my clients need, and then against each one, I basically have the tasks that are required for each one. So the hours it's going to take, and it just does a calculate of the overall time and the cost, and then I generate a document, like a report using Word template, and that send it off to my clients, and then I manage all my time through Power Apps. So whenever I'm on site, any additional time, unbilled time, I just work in progress. So I just do all that, and then at the end of the month, it just makes my invoicing so much easier, so much simpler. Maybe next time I'll do a demo of that one, but it just goes to show if you have a need. Honestly, it is so easy to create the application that you need. It takes a couple of days, maybe a day, if you've not worked with Power Apps, or to get the learning curve. And to be honest, where you're struggling to do something, if you just Google it, you'll find the answers. Somebody has somewhere has had a similar issue, and there's a give you that. So the community has grown in such a big way, and there's so much help. Years ago, when working with CRM11, there was limited resources, limited stuff on YouTube, but now it's just everywhere. The data, so you have great people like Neil, Andy, Scott, Lucy. There's just so many great guys out there, and people with so much knowledge, that you can learn from and work with. And the good thing is they're so helpful, and that's the same with this community. This wasn't there, and this is probably the reason why it's sort of burning them, because they only used to be Reading, and I was too lazy to go to Reading, I think, and so I started the one in Birmingham, and it's great. We have some great guys there. It's nice to actually mix and talk and have a chat and get to understand what people are working on. But if you've got, I'll share my first screen again. If anybody wants to contact me, I'm on LinkedIn. If you have any questions, then please feel free to just contact me.
And you'll be around for the rest of the day anyhow, won't you? So, I mean, if you've got any questions or want to drill into the idea, or talk about, for example, the cloning idea with MTS, then reach out to him, connect with him, and we can.
If you want the solution, I can make that available. So if you want, you have to make a few tweaks. Obviously, the connections that you set up for your environments, but it can be used for anything really. If you have a need in your community, and I think the more we do with the Power Platform, the better product it'll become, because it already is a great product anyway. But it means it doesn't. You don't have to be a developer anymore to produce something that is a workable solution within your organization. It's just absolutely brilliant, and I actually quite surprised myself, because I've not, when you work on projects, you really, because Microsoft are bringing out so much, the question is, what do you learn first? And you start, and then but the best way I found is to actually go and do some little projects of your own within your organization or your community, and you'll find that it's not as hard as you think it is. It's actually, and then you'll be pleasantly surprised that wow, well, that's really good, and then it'll encourage you to go and do more. It is really, really good, honestly. Just go and do it.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for your session, MTS. I really think that was great. If everyone would like to take themselves off mute and just give MTS a round of applause for his session today. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm just going to stop recording. And yeah, I think we have some lunch now. Well, we're not actually sending lunch.